Ever wonder where those donation dollars to the Watchtower really go? Billions in real estate sales, secret investments, luxury headquarters, all while they're telling you to keep living modestly and giving more. Today, we're following the money trail they do not want you to see. You ready? Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. For those joining me for the first time, I was born into what I now understand was a high control religious organization, otherwise known as a cult. I spent 4 decades devoted to what I believed was the truth. I pioneered, served in the congregation, worked with several assembly halls. I gave thousands of hours and untold dollars to the organization, believing every minute and every dime went directly to spreading the good news of the kingdom. But the question and the research that woke me up was, where was all that money actually going? Today, I'm going to share what I learned about the Watchtower's financial practices that finally pushed me to examine my beliefs more closely. Remember those Kingdom Hall contribution boxes? The ones labeled worldwide work and local congregation expenses? Growing up, I watched my parents faithfully place money in those boxes every week, even during times when we could barely afford groceries. I did the same as an adult. We were told repeatedly that these funds were being used with the utmost care for the worldwide preaching work. In Matthew 6, verse 3 and 4, Jesus said, "When you give to the poor, do not let your left hand know what your right is doing, so that your giving will be in secret, and your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." Well, their organization often cited this verse to justify their secrecy around finances, but they're misapplying that scripture. Jesus was talking about individual acts of charity, not organizational finances. In fact, the Bible actually promotes financial transparency for those handling collect funds. Look at 2 Corinthians 8:20 and 21, where Paul speaks about the collection for Jerusalem. "We are taking precautions so that no one will discredit us in our administration of this generous gift. For we have regard for what is honorable, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men." Paul is concerned about being transparent with donated funds, both to God and to men. The Watchtower organization conveniently ignores this principle. Most members don't realize that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is a structured 501c3 nonprofit organization in the United States. Normally, under the law, a nonprofit is required to file a Form 990 with the IRS. That form typically includes all income streams, including donations, grants, investments, program service revenue, detailed expense reports, asset information, officer compensation, governance, program accomplishments, balance sheets, and more. But the Watchtower is classified as a church, which exempts them from filing these public financial disclosures. Convenient, isn't it? They've chosen the classification that requires the least transparency. This stands in stark contrast to ancient Jewish practices. In biblical times, financial matters were handled with remarkable openness. The temple treasury was managed in public view. Remember when Jesus observed the widow giving her small coins in Mark 12? He could see what people were donating because it was done openly. Judicial matters in ancient Israel were conducted at the city gates, the most public place possible, ensuring that everyone could witness the proceedings. As Deuteronomy 16:18-20 commands, "You shall appoint judges and officers in all your towns, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment." Today's Watchtower organization operates behind closed doors. Financial decisions are made in secret by a small group of men. When was the last time you saw a detailed financial statement from the organization? Have you ever seen one? I served as a ministerial servant for years, and I assisted the elders with collecting the donations and filling out the forms for them. Never once did I see a comprehensive financial breakdown of where worldwide donations were actually spent. Now, let's talk specifics. In recent years, the organization has sold off hundreds of Kingdom Halls, often consolidated congregations, and sold valuable properties in Brooklyn and elsewhere for billions of dollars. Where did those billions go? The official answer is always vague: to further the worldwide work. But what does that actually mean? Meanwhile, the governing body commissioned the construction of a lavish headquarters complex at Warwick, New York, complete with a stunning lakeside location, beautiful landscaping, and high end facilities. This while simultaneously telling members to live modestly and sacrifice for the organization in God's kingdom. You remember Jesus' words in Matthew 19:21? If you wish to be complete, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Or Acts 4:34 and 35. There was not a needy person among them, for all who were owners of land or houses would sell them and bring the proceeds of the sale and lay them at the apostles' feet, and they would distribute to each as any had a need. Does the Watchtower follow this pattern? Where are the detailed records of how they distribute these funds to each as any had need? Ask yourself, when was the last time your local congregation received financial help from the organization? Most kingdom halls were built with local funds and volunteer labor and then signed over to the organization. Did you know that? The local congregation does not own its own kingdom hall. They used to, but Watchtower changed that years ago. Now the organization owns them all. Many of those same halls have now been sold, with congregations receiving nothing from the sale. In Proverbs 3:27-28, it says, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it's in your power to do it. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come back, and tomorrow I'll give it, when you have it with you. Yet how many brothers and sisters in developing countries live in poverty while the organization sits on billions in assets? Let me share a personal experience. In one of my congregations, we had a single mother with 3 children who was facing eviction. The elders approached the circuit overseer about organizational assistance. His response? The organization isn't set up for that kind of help. Take up a local collection. That same month, we received a letter encouraging increased donations for the worldwide work. This disconnect troubled me deeply. In my research since leaving, I've seen reports that the organization holds or held huge investment in property portfolios, some of which had stocks in companies that directly contradict their public teaching. Don't believe me? Go to ibsaproperty.com if you want to browse the luxury apartments Watchtower has for sale in England right now. Watchtower has invested in defense contractors, pharmaceutical companies that produce blood products, and media companies that produce the very entertainment they condemn from the platform. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, but if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. The organization has 0 charitable programs for Jehovah's Witnesses. It's prioritized its own interests above the needs of its members. Does that seem to you to follow the early Christian example? During my time as a witness, I saw the pressure placed on congregations to contribute to the Kingdom Hall Building Fund, even after our hall was paid off. Later, when the organization changed its policy and took ownership of all the Kingdom Halls, our congregation never saw an accounting of those funds again. This practice violates the principle found in Luke 16:10. He who is faithful in very little things is faithful also in much, and he who is unrighteous in very little things is unrighteous also in much. The lack of financial transparency extends to their legal battles as well. The organization has faced numerous lawsuits related to child sexual abuse, with many resulting in huge settlements. These payments come from the same funds that members donate, believing they're supporting the preaching work. Shouldn't members have the right to know how much of their donations are going to settle abuse cases the organization failed to handle properly? In ancient Israel, where King Joash collected funds to repair the temple, 2 Kings 12:15 tells us, moreover, they did not require an accounting from the men into whose hand they gave the money to pay those who did the work, for they dealt faithfully. Notice the key phrase, for they dealt faithfully. That trust was based on a pattern of faithfulness and transparency. Has the Watchtower organization earned this level of trust? Without transparency, how can we know? If you're still an active witness watching this, I'm not telling you what to do with your donations. That's a personal decision. But I am encouraging you to ask questions. Christianity was never meant to be a faith of blind following. The Bereans were commended in Acts 17:11 because they examined the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so. Examine the organization's practices against scripture. Does what you see align with biblical principles of honesty and transparency? Consider Ephesians 5:11. Do not participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness, but instead even expose them. Financial secrecy creates an environment where mismanagement and misuse can flourish unchecked. By asking questions and demanding transparency, you're not being disloyal to God, you're upholding scriptural principles. For those with families still in the organization, this information might help you understand why some of us had to leave. It wasn't just doctrinal disagreements. It was seeing practical evidence that the organization's actions did not match its words. Like Jesus said in Matthew 7:16, you will know them by their fruits. The organization often warns against independent thinking and worldly wisdom. But think about this. If they're truly handling funds appropriately, why fear scrutiny? In John 3:19-21, Jesus said, this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their deeds were evil. For everyone who does evil hates the light and does not come to the light, for fear that his deeds will be exposed. But he who practices the truth comes to the light, so that his deeds may be manifested as having been wrought in God. Who is coming to the light regarding finances? Other religious organizations publish detailed annual reports showing exactly how donations are spent. Many maintain publicly accessible financial statements. I've seen some that use independent third-party auditors every year and provide those reports to their members to scrutinize. I went to a church here in North Carolina that had a monthly meeting where they broke down every dollar that was donated and exactly where it went. The Watchtower organization does none of that. All right, coming to a close here, and I want to emphasize that this isn't about money itself. It's about honesty, integrity, and living by the principles taught in the very book that the organization claims to follow. Remember 1 Peter 5:2-3, which tells the elders to shepherd the flock of God among you, exercising oversight not under compulsion, but voluntarily, according to the will of God, and not for sordid gain, but with eagerness, nor yet not as lording it over those in your charge, but proving an example to the flock. Is the Watchtower organization proving to be an example of financial integrity and transparency? Were they operating under a veil of secrecy that prevents scrutiny and accountability? I lost friends and family when I left. Some called me an apostate for asking these questions, but I couldn't continue supporting an organization that demanded complete financial transparency from its members, knowing exactly what each person donated while providing virtually none in return. If you're struggling with similar questions, you are not alone. The journey out is difficult, but there's a community of former members who understand exactly what you're going through. Thank you for listening, and I hope this information helps you on your own journey toward truth. Real truth, not the trademarked version, the truth. If you have experiences with the organization's financial practices you'd like to share, please leave them in a comment below. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more content on my experiences and research as a former witness. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, asking questions isn't a sign of disloyalty. It's a sign that you're taking your faith seriously. I'll catch you in the next video.